Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nowadays we are talking about data analysis. In our previous lectures we have talked about quantitative data analysis, and today we will talk about qualitative data analysis, and we will see what is the difference between them and all. But just to recap what we have done in our previous lecture, it was about central tendency measures, measures of variability, then we have seen frequency tables, and then we saw how various diagrams or graphs can be used to plot the data, for example histogram, pie chart, bar chart, or things like that. And with that we have seen that these things are very important to do because of one or the other reason. And within measures of central tendency we have seen that there are three measures of central tendency, that is mean, median and mode. And we have described them that mean is arithmetic average that we do by adding up all the observations that we have and dividing them by the number of observations. So if we have 5 observations, what we do simply basically is that if we have these number of 5 observations, then we get 17 as total, and then we divide it by 5. So 3.4 is the mean of this particular number of observations. And then we have seen mode and median. For median we will say we have learned that the thing that is occurring in the middle of the observation is called median, while mode is the most frequently occurring observation, that is 5 and 5. So mode will be 5, median will be 2. So things like that we have to understand, and we have seen that mode can be bimodal or multimodal. If there are more than one observation that are occurring frequently in the table or in the observations, then we can say it bimodal. If there are more than 2 observations that are occurring frequently in the variables, we call them multimodal. And these are the measures of central tendency. And then within measures of variability we have measures of central tendency, mean, median and mode. And now we have measures of variability, how variance or variability is observed within the data sets that we have. We have range, interquartile range, standard deviation, variance. So these are some of the measures of variability, and we have learned in previous lectures that how these measures help us understand the spread of our data. How do we in a position to see the range of our data? For example, range tells us the difference between the highest and lowest value. So that's how we will be in a position to understand the spread of our data. How do they spread around a mean? What is their variance? What is their standard deviation? What is interquartile range? And things like that. And with these two measures of central tendency and measures of variability, we have seen about the exploration of data, exploration of data. Within that, we have seen that data analysis can be exploratory or confirmatory. And we have seen that exploratory data analysis is simply analyzing your data by plotting them, by making frequency tables, by making summary statistics and all, while confirmatory data analysis is the one in which we do analysis and use classical statistical tools of significance and confidence interval. And we can distinguish these two by these simple measures. Then we have seen how we can make frequency table, why it is important, because it tells us and summarizes number of observations that are occurring in various units, various boxes, so that we can understand how frequently one observed variable is occurring in our whole data set. And we can make the frequency table by using our variables, and then we can calculate simple percentage, we can calculate the cumulative percentage and things like that. And based on that, we can also make pie chart or histogram. And histogram is basically an important plot or diagram or figure that help us to understand distribution of data also. And we have seen that through histogram we will be in a position to see whether our data is skewed on left or right, whether the kurtosis is there or not in the data, and the spread of data between an average value or something like that. So this is how these simple statistical analysis or tools help us understand our basic data that we have collected using questionnaire, observation or interviews. And then we can move further, either we are using qualitative data or quantitative data. We have done understanding or learning how we analyze quantitative data. Today we are starting about qualitative data and analysis of qualitative data. What is the difference between qualitative data analysis and quantitative data analysis? So we will see that, and we have already seen in our previous lecture, that quantitative data set is based on meanings derived from numbers. So quantitative data is majorly or predominantly depends on numbers, while qualitative data derived meaning from the words of respondents or subjects. So quantitative data is collection of numerical results in standardized data format, while qualitative data is non-standardized data requiring classification into categories. We categorize the data and then we do analysis. Analysis conducted through the use of diagrams and statistics. Analysis conducting through the use of conceptualization. So these are some of the basic differences between quantitative and qualitative data. So when you do quantitative data, what you do basically as a researcher is that you come up with a research question and objectives on which you want to work or you want to get answer to. Then you collect data by one or the other way using secondary or other sources or primary sources, and then you analyze the data. And some of the basic analysis we have seen, you either plot the data, you tabulate the data, you make two-way tables, things like that, and then you conduct confirmatory analysis by conducting multiple regression analysis or things like that, and then you come up with some results and you conclude based on your numbers that you have done this or that kind of analysis using this or that kind of data, and you are coming up with some confirmatory analysis results showing that whether your hypothesis is accepted or not. And if this is the case, this is called quantitative data analysis. And that's why we say that whenever we do quantitative data analysis, we always derive meanings from numbers. We use numbers to analyze, and based on that analysis we get something out of it. While qualitative data is based on words. What you do in qualitative data is basically you go and you ask normally unstructured question, or even if it is a structured question, they are open-ended question. And within open-ended question, you are normally unable to get numbers. So what you get is, you get words, opinions, perceptions, realities, their own ways of thinking and linking various phenomena of life. And based on these things, you try to analyze by conceptualizing what is said, what actually exists, how do they link together, what is theoretical framework, what theoretical framework is saying about some phenomena that is occurring one or the other way. And then you try to see how these words of respondents can help you answer your own research questions and objectives. And that's how you move from words to conceptualization to analysis stage, and then you interpret your results. While in quantitative, you analyze numbers, you get some conclusion. Based on these numbers, you come up with some statistical analysis, and you get your analysis done for quantitative and qualitative data. So this is the table that is adopted from Day 1993, Helen Rawlinson 1994, and the author's own experience. So this is how we can simply distinguish between quantitative and qualitative data analysis. In qualitative data analysis, we interpret words of the respondents. In quantitative data analysis, we interpret numbers that we have collected. What is the interpretative way of thinking? We think in multiple realities. We think data versus information. We talk about subjects versus research participants, and we also have values. We'll see all these things one by one. But these are all the points of thinking in interpretive way. When you have data with you, how to do analysis. Many ways of knowing. Multiple reality means that there are many ways of knowing. The researcher's reality. The researcher's reality means how researcher has an opinion or has observed or seen something or a phenomena that is occurring in front of him or her. Or how the things that are observed or that is happening in front of the researcher, he has conceptualized and perceived. This is how there are multiple realities. While it may be that those who are at the state of affairs of those phenomena or observations, they might think things are different. The research participants' reality. So as a researcher, I may see things differently versus as a participant of research, those who are living in that particular condition can see things differently. The mutual reality created when researcher and research participant interact. So when I have some question in my mind, I want to interact with subjects or participants to ask some questions to get their answer about one or the other phenomena. And then I link my understanding or observation or perception versus what I have been told by the participants, and how these two can be linked through conceptualization or theoretical framework can come under the phenomena of multiple realities. So researcher can be thinking different way, while participant or subjects are thinking in a different way. And how do these links to the theoretical framework that exists or conceptual framework, and how these can be combined together. This is how we understand multiple realities of single thing's very existence. These multiple realities are dynamic, so they are constantly changing, because human life is dynamic. So what happened is, whenever things change, a relative change comes in with the passage of time. The things that across you that are surrounding you are basically changing a little bit, and based on that your perception, your observation your way of thinking and your way of linking these things together changes also. So multiple reality phenomena is dynamic in the sense that if you go and see the same thing today first time, you might have a different opinion, versus if you go and see the phenomena again after 10 or 20 days, again after 30, 40, 50 days, and then if you see it again after, let's say, 6 months or a year. So this is how multiple reality phenomena is called a dynamic phenomena. Data versus information. Data is basically unit of evidence such as facts, numbers, pictures that are collected for the purposes of answering a research question. We collect data to answer a research question, and data can be facts, numbers or pictures. Information derived from data. It is the meaning or interpretation given to data. So this is the difference that we have to understand, that you have a data that is units of evidence, and you have information that is the interpretation given to that unit of evidence or data. Subjects versus research participants. Qualitative research places high value on the link between the individuals being studied and the data that they provide. Data are considered in the context of the research participants' reality. So we have seen in multiple reality that there is a reality of researcher versus there is a reality of those who take part in the research, that are participant. So in qualitative research, more weightage is given to participants' reality. How and why people participate, how and why people think this or that way about a particular happening or a phenomena, and how do they observe things differently, and what are their thoughts about a particular observation or particular phenomena that is surrounding their daily routine life. So these are the things that qualitative data actually considers. Value awareness. The ability to put aside your own values when you are conducting research studies or when you are evaluating the research results of others. Qualitative research involves an immersion in values so that their inevitable effect can be better understood. So that's one of the important aspects that we have to understand while we are doing interpretative analysis of our qualitative data. Value awareness, that you have to put aside your own values that you give to a particular phenomena when you look at it, when you see it, and how you perceive it. It might be more value to you compared to others, but you cannot give your own value judgment about anything. As a researcher, you have to avoid that, because in qualitative thing, if you don't, or if you are not in a position to avoid that, you are basically doing a kind of biased or adding a biased behavior in your research. So how it can be done is basically you do it by adding up your own value judgment or your own understanding to particular phenomena, and you take a strong point on your own value rather than your subject or participants' value judgment or understanding about a particular observation or phenomena. So what you do in value awareness is that you try to keep your own understanding relatively silent when you are interpreting the realities, how they exist, how they are understood by those who are taking part in there, and then you will be in a better position to understand the reality of something in the view of those who participate in it. Because if we see, we have seen that data are considered in the context of research participants' reality. It is not researchers' reality. That is the case of quantitative data. In quantitative data, you take numbers, you analyze them, and based on that analysis, keeping your own perception and reality in your mind, you give interpretation to these numbers. And then you come up with some arguments or logic behind your own analysis and interpretation of that analysis. While in qualitative data, you put aside your own values when you are conducting research studies or when you are evaluating the research results of others. So it is also called sometimes disinterestedness. It is not that you are not interested in what you value, but you cannot do that because to avoid bias in the research process, to inculcate bias in the whole research process. So this is how qualitative research is relatively different from that of quantitative analysis or research. Qualitative research also involves an immersion in values so that their inevitable effect can be better understood. So this is again the interpretation in the same way that if you basically combine your own value judgment versus the perception of those who are participant of your research, then you will not be in a position to get something out of it. So what you do, you basically give value to subject participants' realities, and then you try to see how things are different, how they are linked to conceptualization you have in your mind, and what are the new innovations or knowledge you are getting from their perceptions or understandings or observations from the daily life around them. So this is how qualitative research is different from that of quantitative research. Analyzing and interpreting the data. Analyzing and interpreting the data. Qualitative data are typically in the text format. Text format means that you have asked open-ended question, and based on these questions you have recorded their responses, which can be one line or which can be more than 2, 3, 4 lines, and their responses can be longer also. So that cannot be given numerical values. So what you can do, you basically analyze the text, and for those analysis there are number of softwares that are available. For example, NVivo is one software that is used to do analysis. Atlas TI is another way of doing analysis by using a software called Atlas TI. And there are various versions of other softwares that are also available to do qualitative data analysis, which is in the text format. And the analysis is aimed to reveal the true expressions of research participants. Explanations should be in accordance with the beliefs and experiences of the research participants, and walk the walk and talk the talk of research participant. Walk the walk and talk the talk of research participant. So data analysis, especially qualitative data analysis, have 3 important things to do. One is that it reveals the true expression. It basically reveals the true expression of research participant. Explanation should be in accordance with the beliefs of research participants and experience of research participants. We have to understand the walk the walk and talk the talk of research participants. So true expression of research participant, we have already discussed that whatever have been explained by the participants, you have to value them as a researcher. Rather than giving value to your own perception or observation, you have to value what has been understood, said and analyzed based on your question by the participant of research. So if you are interviewing a person who has some observation about one or the other phenomena, you have to value that person's viewpoint rather than giving him a sideline and then you come up with your own opinion or observation. So this is how you give and reveal true expressions of research participants. Explanations should be in accordance with the beliefs and experiences of the research participant. Whatever you explain based on your analysis of text, it must be in accordance with the beliefs and experiences of research participants. It should not follow what you want to analyze or understand or interpret. It should not follow the standard format or things like that, but it must follow the beliefs and experiences of the participants of research. So again, the participant of research are the most important aspect, the most important phenomena that we have to understand in qualitative research analysis. Walk the walk and talk the talk of research participant. So as they walk and as they talk, you have to interpret it in the same way. You don't have the chance, or you are not allowed to change any single thing. So however or whatever kind of interpretation they have for any of the phenomena surrounding them, you have to give it a true expression while you are interpreting your data, while you are analyzing your qualitative data. Presentation and dissemination of findings. The qualitative research reports are typically lengthy. Data are typically presented in the form of quotes or summary notes. Why I just put this? Because this is one of the way of analyzing the qualitative data. Lengthy qualitative research reports, quotes and summary notes. So what you basically do, that you write something that is related to the theory or conceptual framework, or maybe that is a recent debate or discourse in that particular field. होता इस तरह से कि जब आपके पास कोई टेक्स्ट फॉर्मेट होता है तो आप उसको किसी न किसी तरीके से किसी इम्पोर्टेंट डिबेट के साथ लिंक करना चाहते हैं. अब ये है कि जैसे हम ये एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं कि रिसेंटली जो हमारे यहाँ इलेक्शन हुए हैं, एक बहुत डिबेट चली आ रही है कि डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ के अंदर जो कंट्री तरक्की पजीर हैं, जो अभी तरक्की कर रहे हैं, जैसे पाकिस्तान है और इस तरह से बहुत सारे कंट्री हैं, तो वो उन मुल्कों में ये होता है कि वहाँ पे जो नौजवान नस्ल है, लड़कियां और लड़के, मेल और फीमेल जो हैं, दे टेक लेस पार्ट इन पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस. And there are theories that explain why they have less part in political process. They may be less interested, they don't know about it, or things like that. And if you have some opinion that gives you an idea, then what you do, you basically explain first the theoretical aspect of that youth participation in political process, for example, and then you say in the words or in the phrases or in the experience of one of the participant, he or she said, and then you do his or her saying in quotes. And that's how you analyze the qualitative data. Qualitative research are relatively lengthy in their description, and they are typically presented in the form of quotes or summary notes. So this is how we have to understand the qualitative data. This simple slide I added because we can understand that how do we do data analysis when we have qualitative or text format of data. Comparing qualitative and quantitative approaches. For example, what are the philosophical differences between qualitative and quantitative approaches when we see on different things? For example, when we see about or when we want to observe reality, ways of knowing, value base and application. Here we have quantitative and here we have qualitative. So when it comes to reality, we have seen in the research philosophy there are objectivism and there is subjectivism, and you know by now what is objectivism and what is subjectivism. So when we want to see reality in quantitative analysis, it is objective in nature, but when we want to see reality in qualitative, it is subjective in nature. Ways of knowing: in quantitative it is deductive, while in qualitative it is inductive. And deductive and inductive we have also discussed, I think, in 2 or 3 lectures at various length. Value base: quantitative में researcher is detached while researcher is engaged. Why researcher is detached in quantitative? Because you get numbers, you do analysis based on numbers, and then you analyze, interpret, argue, logically state your argument based on the analysis on which is basing on or which is related to those numbers. While in qualitative, because you have to go to the field, ask people, see, observe their reality, how do they interpret, how do you understand these things. So research is predominantly engaged into it. Application: quantitative is more generalizable, while qualitative is more in-depth understanding of one or the other phenomena. We'll see one by one what is the perceptions of reality. In quantitative, people share common experiences that can be described objectively, while in qualitative, people have unique experiences that can only be described subjectively by individuals. Because the same thing, like rainfall example I normally give when I talk about, for rainfall, maybe for some it can produce a romantic weather, but for some, for example farmers, it can create some problem because they have to take care of their crops and all that. If the crop is at harvesting stage or it is already harvested, and they have to take care of that. So subjective reality varies from individual to individual. So subjective reality different from individual to individual. For example, rainfall, as is already explained, that it can have different meanings for every individual. So when as a researcher you observe the different meaning of the same rainfall for every individual, then it becomes subjective. So that's how you understand qualitative research, and that's how you understand it in depth, rather than quantitative, where you think that rain can or cannot bring good or harm. Ways of knowing: in quantitative data analysis, knowledge is gained by closely examining specific parts of the experiences of many cases, while in qualitative, knowledge is gained by closely examining whole experiences of just a few cases. So the difference is that examining specific parts of the experiences of many cases, so part of experience but number of cases are too much. I mean, there are a lot of number of cases and part of experience is explained. While in qualitative, in-depth experience is explained but of a few cases. So this is how you distinguish between qualitative way of knowing versus quantitative way of knowing the reality. Value basis: quantitative is researcher suspends all values and offers no personal meaning to the research participants or the data collected. Researcher and subject are separate. While in qualitative, the researcher attends to his or her personal values and their influence on the research process. Researcher and research participants are interconnected. So research and subject are separate and research and participant are interconnected. Quantitative is basically where you ask questions, you get numbers, and that's all. And then you go, you edit, code, everything you do, and then you go for data analysis. And based on your analysis, you come up whatever you want to argue or logically based on an interpretation. While in qualitative, it is different. You go, you ask people, and you ask in depth for your own understanding. That's why researcher and participants are interconnected. Researchers suspends all values and offers no personal meaning to the research participant. So there is no personal meaning to research participant. You suspend all values and you do analysis based on the numbers you have had with you in quantitative analysis. While in qualitative, researcher attend to his or her personal values and their influence on the research process. So you also have some interpretation of the phenomena, although you don't give weightage to it, but definitely you have at least an influence of that. But it is always the researcher's value is less weighted compared to participants' value, and you interpret the reality as participants interpret it when you are analyzing your data, when you are asking questions to your research participants. Applications. Quantitative research results are generalized to representative populations. Average experiences for large groups of people are reported. While qualitative research results give in-depth understanding of a few, detailed description is presented rather than generalizing. Quantitative analysis has this advantage that you can get as much data as you want because of the ease of availability of the data, relatively easy, and that's why you are in a better position to make a general or generalizable statement when you do quantitative data analysis. But qualitative data analysis, because you go in depth understanding of the cases or individual, so your data set is not that large, but your understanding of that particular phenomena is very strong and in depth. So that's why what you do is you can describe and present your results in detail, but you are only in a position to generalize it when you do quantitative data analysis. So these are the applications and differences in application of quantitative and qualitative data. When you have your text format or when you have your audio data with you that you have collected through open-ended question or something, that is qualitative data, and if it is in audio format, then you have to transcribe the data. Transcribing is an important way of analyzing the data, especially qualitative data, and it can be done alternatively using these 4 ways. So what are these 4 ways? Pay a touch typist to transcribe your audio recordings. Borrow a transcription machine with a foot-operated start play, stop play mechanism. Dictate your audio recordings to your computer using voice recognition software. Only transcribe those sections of each audio recording that are pertinent to your research data sampling. And what are the potential problems that as a researcher you can get when you are transcribing your data? So for example, when you do it by pay a touch typist to transcribe your recording, so you give it to somebody who is doing transcribing for you. So first problem that can be potentially arise is expense of paying someone else. You have to have finance with you. So it leads us again to thinking about capability and appropriateness of research topic that we discussed in the very beginning, that is whether it is worthwhile to conduct it or not, whether it is feasible to conduct it or not. And in both these ingredients of topic, attributes of topic, we have seen that we have to have skills to do the analysis, skill to conduct the research, and finances and resources to conduct the research. So if we have resources to conduct the research, then we are in a position to do that. If we are resource constrained, then we have to think twice before doing these kind of things. So if you give somebody to transcribe your data for you, it might be expensive for you, and then if you are under resource constraints condition, that will create a potential problem for your transcribing the data that you have collected in audio recordings. Important data such as pauses, cuffs, size and the like may not be included, which is also important while you are doing text format data analysis. These simple pauses, size of relief or sorrow, cuffs, pauses, these all make very strong meaning when you do data analysis in text format and transcribe the data from audio. And if somebody is doing that, he or she who is transcribing the data might not be in a position to understand the meaning of that, because he or she is not the part of that particular thing. So that can be a problematic stuff. You will not be familiarizing yourself with the data as you're not transcribing it yourself. You might not be in a position to get familiarized with the data you are interested in. Collected by somebody, or maybe you are involved in collection of the data, but then because somebody else is describing, so you have missed an important part of it. That's why you have to take care of whether it is necessary that somebody has to describe or transcribe the data for you, or is it better for you to do it by yourself so that you don't miss any important element in the data analysis and you don't give a bias in your results or interpretation of something, and also you understand the data fully by involving yourself into as much as you can into data analysis or transcribing in as much as you can. Transcription will still require careful checking as errors can creep in. So for example, how errors can creep in? Because maybe the one who is describing the data might miss pauses, curves, size and some other things that are important. And if these important things are missed out, then it means that there are errors in data that we have to, as a researcher, eliminate so that data can be error free. And we have seen through data editing that error and omission must be eliminated so that we can conclude from a strong from our data analysis strong arguments, strong conclusions, and we must not miss important aspect of our data that we have with us. So paying a transcriber who can transcribe you the audio recordings can give 4 potential threat. 1, maybe expensive. 2, maybe some important aspect of data may be missed or not included. 3, as a researcher you might be not familiarized with the data you are interested in. And 4, there might be creeping in of errors within the data that can bias your results when you interpret your data. What is the second alternative is to borrow a transcription machine with a foot operated start play stop play mechanism. There are machines that can be used to transcribe data. And what are the potential problems associated with them is that although this will allow you to control the audio recorder more easily, the speed of transcription will still be dependent upon your typing ability. So how fast you can type depends on whether you have what kind of machine you have and all that. So this can be a problematic thing. Second is the transcription will still require careful checking. You have to be careful about when you are checking your transcription. If you just lose your carefulness, you might introduce error into your data. So if you borrow a machine, either your typing speed can be a problem or your lack of careful checking can create an error omission or introduce an error into the data. Third way of transcribing the data can be dictate your audio recordings to your computer using voice recognition software. There are voice recognition softwares that can be used. For example, nowadays in mobiles you have a special voice recognition, and you can say name only and then mobile itself dial that particular person's number. If the voice is recognized by the device, that number is already dialed. So this is how you can dictate your audio recordings to your computer by using voice recognition software. What is the potential problems related to it? You will need to discover which voice recognition software works best with your voice. That also time consuming as well as financially consuming process. So you need money to buy software. You have to link the best voice recognition software that works with your voice. You will need to teach the voice recognition software to understand your voice. So this is another process that you have to do. How you say this kind of words, how you say that kind of words, how you change voices and all that. Unless the software is able to recognize your voice, it is difficult for software to analyze or transcribe data for you. Third is you will need to listen and dictate the entire audio recording. You have to listen and dictate, so it's also a time consuming process. And finally, the transcription will still require careful checking, as the software is not entirely accurate. Software can do some mistakes one or the other way, maybe unable to recognize the words or voices that you want to, and then there are errors and omissions that can be introduced in the data. So that need your carefulness, careful check about the data so that you can get something out of it. So these are 4 important aspects when you have a software who can recognize a voice. One is that voice recognition software you have to recognize that works best with your voice. Second, you have to teach software recognition of your voice. Third, you have to listen and dictate the entire audio recording. And finally, you require careful checking of the software because it cannot be entirely accurate. Last way or alternative to transcribing the data is that only transcribe those sections of each audio recording that are pertinent to your research. There might be redundancy in when you collected audio data through interview or other means. So you can only transcribe those things that are important and are very much relevant to your research. If this is the case, then what kind of potential problems you get? There are 3. You will need to listen to the entire recording carefully first, at least twice. You have to listen the recording at least twice, it is recommended, so that you can get what is important and relevant to your research and what is not very much important and you can actually get rid of. So for that you have to understand the whole audio recording fully, and then you will be in a position to say that okay, you are going to analyze this and that part, but you are not analyzing that one. So you may miss certain things, meaning you will have to go back to the audio recording later. So that's another issue that is related to when you do transcribing of the important part of audio recording. You might miss something, and if you miss that, you have to go back again to the audio recording. You have to go to that particular place where you can actually get the main thing, and then you have to listen it again to transcribe it, and then you get the main point done with your own transcribing audio recording and all that. So those sections you transcribe will still require careful checking. Careful checking is very important. So the 3 things that you need when you transcribe each section of those audio recording that is pertinent or related to your research is that you have to listen the whole audio interview or the audio recording carefully at least twice. This is one thing. You may miss and there is a potential of missing important things, so you can give meaning. You will have to go back to audio recording later also, and those sections that you transcribe will surely need a careful checking of your mistakes or errors that can be introduced in the transcription of data. So this is how you transcribe your data if it is audio recorded through interviews or through any other means, and then you have to get your data analyzed and you have to do the writing of report. That's why it's relatively different to have qualitative data analysis versus quantitative data analysis, and that's why we have separate lectures about quantitative data analysis and qualitative data analysis. These are the 4 alternative ways of getting your data transcribed. There are potential problems related to them, so you have to see based on your available time and resources at what alternative fits you nicely and how you can avoid, by careful checking or other means, the errors that can be potentially introduced in the data that at the time of transcription. So this is how you will be in a better position to get your data transcribed at one, and secondly you will be in a better position to get rid of the errors and omissions that can potentially be introduced in the data. These are the 4 ways of transcribing the data. So before we end, I just want to summarize and let you know that what we have covered in today's lecture, why it is important, because we have to understand that qualitative research is a respective approach to knowledge building. Why? Because you do small cases, individuals, and you go in depth understanding and analysis of phenomena or reality as the participant perceives. Secondly, qualitative and quantitative research are complementary but are based on divergent principles. So you do analysis of numbers in quantitative, and based on your own logic and argument you conclude something, but in qualitative you indulge yourself with research participants and you value their realities versus your own reality. So this is how these 2 things are different and divergent, and works on divergent principle. And that's why we have to see qualitative data analysis differently than that of quantitative data analysis. What is covered in today's lecture is the difference between qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. We have seen interpretative way of thinking, in which we have covered few important points like subjective and objective, value awareness, data and information, and things like that. And I hope these small things, if you try to understand, learn them nicely, you will be in a better position to understand the differences between qualitative and quantitative data. And then we have seen about the transcription of data. Transcription, if simply you have interviewed, you have recorded it audio wise, then that audio interview is actually transcribed in words by you or by somebody you have hired, is called transcription of data, or transcribing the audio recorded data. And we have seen that there are four alternative way of transcription or transcribing the audio recorded data with their potential issues or problems. And we have seen also that errors and omissions can be introduced at any stage of the data, not only in qualitative but also in quantitative. So we have to try to avoid or try to ensure as much removal of error or omissions from our data as much as we can possibly do. This will help us reduce errors from our data, also help us make robust conclusion and analysis based on the data that we have with us, and we will be in a position to conclude some unbiased, robust results and conclusions based on the arguments that we have. The important point of today's lecture is that quantitative data has value judgment based on researchers' own opinion, observation, and describing the phenomena using data and analysis, while qualitative data value research participants' judgments, perception, and observation based on the phenomena or the real life they see around themselves. So these simple differences actually leave us to divergent principles of analyzing quantitative versus qualitative data. In the next lecture we will also see how we can do nice qualitative data analysis if we have qualitative data with us, and then we will try to see further things also in the next lecture. Before I close, we have to understand that there are differences between qualitative and quantitative data, and these differences must be seen and covered nicely so that we will be in a better position to come up with an unbiased, robust and value-based analysis of our data that we have with us. And if we are in a position to do that, we are a researcher which are not giving values to their personal judgments, but they are giving values to how things actually objectively or subjectively exist. And this is one of the important things that as a researcher we have to consider, that is also ethical and that is also complementary to get unbiased and a research that is important for us and for others also to understand, that is bias free and robust based on logical arguments. I thank you very much. I stop it here and we will see again the qualitative data analysis in our next lecture. Khuda Hafiz.